Welcome back to the Dechambros podcast. This is season 1, episode 14. We had the Houston Open at Memorial Park last week, and my God, did it provide a whole lot of entertainment, a little bit of drama. Yep. Excited to talk a little bit about Memorial for you, and then, of course, going into this week on the Valero. So
yeah, we got a stacked week for you guys today. So
let's start with last week. So, of course, Chef Min Woo Lee won his first PGA Tour event, and he did it in a little bit of style, a little bit of drama, a little bit of style points, but he actually got the lowest score in the history of the Houston Open that he won with last week with that -20.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, I think we were talking about this the other day, but I saw a stat here that Min Woo Lee only hit 4 fairways in regulation on Sunday out of a possible 13. He only hit 22 out of a possible 52 fairways across all 4 days. And he had 26 birdies, even though he was in that much trouble. Like, I feel like you'll never see another golfer win and hit a course record while hitting under 40% fairway. Like, that's insane. I think I don't know what the math is on that, but it's got to be low 40s or high 30s. That's insane.
It was crazy. He was slapping the ball all over the place, a whole lot of ups and downs. Like, I mean, when you talk about the course, it really didn't punish those missed hits, except obviously on 16 on Sunday when he hit it in the water. And I mean, created a bit of drama there. Scottie with that comeback, and he was definitely pushing for the win. And he had me a little bit scared just when we get into kind of how our bets did on the week. But he was trying to push Rory out of that top 5 finish, man.
He really was. And like, talking about Scottie, I mean, I feel like Scottie's back. Like, this week, I said it last week, this is the week he's going to come back. You know what I mean? And he ends up pulling ties his career low on course, and he hasn't hit that low in over 2 years, right? I think that was a -8 on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You love to see it. I mean, love Scottie to death. I had an all-time bad take last week that got called out, saying that Rory was playing better golf than Scottie. But you know what? I stand 10 toes down on that statement. Even this week, I don't think that Rory was playing better golf than Scottie this week, but to fight back from, me thinking, holy shit, on Saturday he wasn't going to, or on Friday, sorry, he wasn't going to make it to Saturday, and then to climb all the way back up to that top 5 finish was really impressive stuff.
Well, I mean, talk about an all-time rain delay that helped somebody out, because before that he was, -1? The cut line was at -3. He had 5 holes remaining, gets rain delayed, comes back, birdies 4 out of 5 to make the cut. Like, good, these players, they just turn it on when they need to turn it on. He had that delay. He was able to refocus, resettle himself, understand what this moment is, and he performed. So, I mean, yeah, you might not be right in the sense that he didn't play as good as Scottie, or that. I don't think that matters. I think they both played exceptionally well, and Rory played in a tougher position out of it.
For sure, 100%. And talk about 2 weeks in a row for Rory, or 2 tournaments in a row where a delay definitely came in and was a factor and an assist into his performance. But talking about Scottie too, you talked about him tying his career low. That also tied the course record of a 62. And there's a really interesting fact that I saw here. The course record of 62 at Memorial Park has been hit 6 times in the history of the tournament. 3 of them were this weekend.
Come on.
So you had Scottie, and then Valimaki and Gary Woodland. Yeah, so 3 course records tied this week out of 6 all time. So
they
crazy
they
weekend.
Doubled it in one weekend. That's crazy.
I mean, lift, clean, and place definitely, I think, coming into play a little bit there, but just,
can you explain that for the kids?
Yeah, so lift, clean, and place basically comes into play when there's a whole lot of bad weather. There's a lot of mud balls. So the players are able to, mark with a tee where the ball was. They can give it to their caddy. Caddy can clean the ball. And then they have a club length from where that ball is to be able to place the ball back down and play it.
So like what I do on every municipal course. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So they're playing my golf.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, I know, but that's counting for a 92 for you, not a 62. So
I mean, that's generous. That's generously very nice of you, my friend. It's probably more like a 99, 100, you know. But
I try my absolute best. But it was also a pretty good week in terms of a couple of other players there. So, I mean, if you don't have anything else, I wanted to kind of go and see how our bets went last week.
I do. I just have one quick thing I want to talk about. So I talked about this last week a little bit. We had two golfers that were on some streaks there. So we had Michael Kim and Ben Griffin.
Right.
Right.
How'd they fare?
I paid attention to this, and it was actually really interesting the entire weekend long. So Michael Kim, that was his 8th straight tournament, trying to make it into the Masters. And Ben Griffin was on his 12th in a row. So both of them were trying to make it in the top 50 of official golf rankings to be able to be included in the Masters. And now after this tournament, because we're on the Valero, you can only get in by winning.
Yeah.
So that's the only way to get in. Corey Connors did that in 2019.
JJ Spawn did it as well, I believe, in 2020.
There you go.
Yeah.
There we go. So, I was paying attention to these gentlemen there, and they both made the cut, making it a little interesting, and they both gave themselves a chance here. So Michael Kim finished with 2 bogeys across his last 4 holes.
That's tough.
Okay, that is tough. He finishes.
Don't tell me that cost him it.
Well, I'll tell you the whole story. He finishes with T32 with -8 for the weekend, okay? And where are we here? Ben finished a little better at -10 with a T18 finish. Okay. So Ben actually finished 18 with a birdie. So now you're obviously thinking who's in, who's not. Well, it's actually the opposite. So looking at OGR, Michael Kim secured his place at 50th. Ben Griffin is 51st.
Oh, that's so tough.
Is that not crazy?
That's so tough. I mean, you talk about the absolute grind of the PGA Tour, going that many tournaments in a row.
12 tournaments in a row. You get a top 20.
By one
You get a
spot.
bird on 18, and you're probably thinking that did it. I'm in the top 20. That secures me, because all of the reports were that all Griffin needed was a top 20. And he actually put a tweet out saying, reports lied, newsflash. Well, don't believe what they tell you on the internet. He goes, I actually needed more than a top 20.
The internet strikes again.
Crazy.
Eh?
Isn't that crazy?
My God.
Yeah.
That's a tough break. I mean, obviously he's excelling in his game. He's improving week in and week out. And hopefully that improvement just continues to keep going. And if he doesn't make his way in on the OWGR, hopefully he gets a sponsor invite, further down the line and into one of these majors, and maybe he can do something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe you can do something.
Yeah, no, that was so that was exciting. I really liked that. And then I really just wanted to comment on E. coli again for his 2nd top 15 finish in a row. I got to throw that out there since you were throwing some shade at me with my E. coli pick.
I mean, not just, I wouldn't say shade, I would just say facts are facts, right? And absolutely love to see him performing, don't get me wrong. My comments are made just purely on how he's been performing so far this year. He's definitely turned into
He's turning it around a
and
little bit. I mean, I don't think he's going to win tournaments this year by any stretch, but I think he can pull out a couple more top 10s and, make a little name for himself this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely love to see it. So let's go into our 20s, 10s, and 5s from last week at the Houston. So I'm going to start out here. Top 20. I had, of course, the great Canadian kid, Mackenzie Hughes. And there was a great showing out of Mackenzie this week. 69 followed up by 3 66s in a row. He got himself a top 10, cashed my top 20 bet for the week.
Love that. And had I not removed Mackenzie Hughes from my top 20, I would have cashed that too. And had I not removed Taylor Pendrith from my top 20, I would have cashed that too. But instead of choosing either of those two fine gentlemen, I picked Aaron Rye. Aaron Iron Covers Rye. And
gloves.
He missed the cut. He didn't have a good showing whatsoever. He missed the cut, and it was embarrassing for me. So
yeah, that's tough. And I mean, I was right with you there with him. Like, if you remember from last week, I told you I had him kind of scratched in, and I was looking at him. It's just,
the gloves for you and the iron
covers. And Something I'd say this year that's been working really well for me, like obviously we do a whole lot of research and we look at the analytics, and that aids us into being able to pick, you know, who we think the right players are that week in the right picks there. But I've also been doing a lot by my gut. And, you know, I'll talk about that a little bit coming up in this week, because I was really torn between two players and I went with my gut. So we'll see how that goes again this week. But that's a tough showing. Like, all the analytics showed that he was going to have a good week, but he's a human. He's a human being, right? He's not a robot. So tough there.
Very tough.
Moving on to the top 10. We both had Big Tone, Tony Finau, who, I mean, a little bit of an up and down weekend, I would say, out of our guy, Big Tone. Pair of 70s, right? Starting off on Thursday with a 70, starting off his weekend with a 70. He mixed in a 65 and a 67 in between. Only good enough for a T32. So, I mean, an all right week out of Tony. Definitely not, you know, the play that we were looking to get out of him. And
you know, like looking over this tournament, the one thing that worried me about picking Tony was that he hasn't played a lot of golf recently. I think he only has 4, like that was his 5th tournament all year, possibly, or it might have been his 6th. But anyways, you know, compared to some of the other players that were in there, they've gotten a little bit more kind of work underneath them this year. And unfortunately, it wasn't enough this week, right? I mean, he had a few good opportunities, and like there was a few times where I saw some highlights of him and he was looking good. It just wasn't consistent enough to get a top 10. And unfortunate too, because he's done really well at this tournament in previous years. So, you know,
he
didn't win that one.
I feel like he's going to be a name that definitely comes up a lot more consistently on the podcast. I think he's a name that's definitely going to probably come back up next year when we're in this same situation, you know, looking into who we're picking for the tournament next season. So, you know, it's an all right showing. It's not a great one. It's not a bad one. Just something to keep our eyes on there. Let's get into the top 5s, because there was a whole lot of drama between our top 5 picks.
Yes, there was.
And as I kind of touched on earlier, this Sunday, like the final 3-hole stretch was nerve-wracking for me, because you had Rory in the clubhouse.
Already
tough
finished.
Bogey on 18.
Ugly bogey.
Gary Woodland, he birdied, putting himself up into 4th place and putting Rory down into 5th. And then I started watching Scottie go on a Scottie run, and I went, fuck, if he birdies one more hole, that's going to push Rory down to 6th, and it's going to be another week of talking about just one
I thought he was going to do it, honestly. I really did. I was cheering for that slightly, and I thought that when Gary got that did push Rory out. And then as I'm looking at the leaderboard, I'm like, hey, what else? How can this happen? I'm like, okay, so it's only Scottie. I'm all right, it's got to be Scottie now. And I thought Scottie was going to do it. I honestly thought Scottie had a really good chance to win the tournament, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, especially that bogey on 16 out of Min Woo.
Well, and then even on 18, Min Woo, that was a really tough chip. It was an excellent chip shot.
Oh, the putt off the back?
Yeah. The putt, sorry, I called it putt off the back there. That was an excellent putt, right? Like, so like when he's looking over that, I'm like, man, there's a very good possibility that he either leaves this short or he puts it too far.
Absolutely.
Like, it was...
You put it within inches. You saw the excitement, the pounding on the chest. Like, that was that TGL hype coming out.
I love seeing... Well, that's the moment to do it. You've never won, kid. Good on you. You're holding off Scottie fucking Scheffler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're looking back. You've got Gary Woodland, U.S. champion back there, right? Like, you fought off the Goliaths.
Oh, 100%.
Right? And, like, it wasn't pretty, but that one stroke... was very pretty.
And you got to think, like, the nerves had to have been there. I mean, Min Woo started with a 5-stroke lead over Scottie coming into Sunday. So to watch that kind of just slowly diminish to a 1-stroke lead going into 18, needing to par it. And
any other time we've seen him in that position, he's messed it up, right? Like, he hasn't played well, Min Woo. So, you know, I was talking to my other buddy, and he's like, put money against him. He always cracks on Sunday, and he almost cracked.
I mean, I would say he arguably cracked, but had a good enough lead to keep his shit together. Because look at the 18th hole. I mean, wild drive left, got lucky. It went past all of the customers, and he had himself a good
4
lie.
fairways. None of them at the end.
His approach over the green had to so I mean, he 100% was choking that lead away, but props to him. He had a big enough lead that he was able to capitalize that and win. But yeah, going through there, obviously Rory cashed for me and Scottie cashed for you. So another couple of wins out of the Dechambros for the week.
There we go. If you guys are tailing, that's 3 wins. That's 3 out of 6. That's some good money right there.
Not too bad.
All at plus odds.
So let's move on and talk about this week on tour, because of course we are going to the Valero Texas Open, and this is at TPC San Antonio. They're on the Oaks course.
Yep.
Last year's champion, of course, was your guy Akshay Bhatia. Akshay is plus 2,500 to defend. So one thing I noticed too with the odds that was really interesting to me, obviously not having the big Goliaths like Scottie and Rory playing, the odds on favorite champions, everybody was over at plus 1,000. So really good tournament to be able to bet on, to be able to make some good cash here.
Yeah. I mean, you have Ludwig at the top of the betting pecking order there. My guy Fleetwood is second on that list, and I got some stats for you on Fleetwood because I really like Fleetwood this week. I like Fleetwood a lot this year in general. And it might have something to do with seeing that long putt get drained in Canada last year. And I was there to see that one. And ever since then, I've just been a big Fleetwood guy. So
the heartbreak over Fleetwood by Nikki Taylor. Yeah, for sure. So I have Fleetwood as well. I have him a little bit later here. So I don't know if you want to just continue on.
Well, I mean, I got some
skip over.
Well, I got some fun facts about the course, actually. I want to talk about here
beautiful.
quickly. So again, third stop in Texas, right? It's another long course. So just under 7,500 yards, par 72. First being played in 1922. It's the third oldest PGA Tour event. Pretty crazy. It's also the oldest professional golf tournament to have been held in the same city its entire existence. It's kind of crazy. I like that.
Shout out San Antonio.
Yeah. Wind obviously is a big factor here. And again, we talked about it, but if you don't have an exemption into the Masters, you can win this week and you can earn your way into the Masters field there. But yeah, so who do you want to talk about? Akshay?
So let's start with Akshay. Yeah, so last year's champion, plus 2,500 to defend. Akshay has, been playing some pretty good golf this year. I mean, he has 3 top 10s in his last 4 events, but he also has a top 5 and a missed cut sprinkle in there as well. His history at the Valero is very shaky. So, I mean, it's someone that is something to look at because he's won here before. But, I mean, in his 3 appearances, he's missed the cut in 2021, T46 in 2023, and then first last year in 2024. So the odds kind of match up there in my mind in terms of, a little bit more of a long shot to be able to defend.
I was looking over a list too. Not a lot of people defend the same, like in that year. Corey Connors is a 2-time winner. There's a few 2-time winners that are actually in the field this year. But it's not very often that somebody defends that like the year after, right? But yeah, I mean, like with Akshay, taking a look at some of his stats here, he's actually doing pretty decent this year putting. He's 9th on tour, strokes gained putting. He's actually 20th on tour strokes gained total. So it is a good kind of pick. I mean, taking a look at his driving distance, about 291 average. It's pretty low for the tour. But he does have an accurate drive. So,
just a little guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just a little guy. So he can't hit it far, but he can hit it accurate. And that sometimes is a lot more important. I mean, on a long course, like we're playing here this week, I don't know how well he's going to fare, but hey, he's won it before.
I mean,
right?
yeah, he's won it before. So, the odds are always in his favor in that sense. But yeah, not somebody that I'd look to when I'm putting bets in this week. Just, I'm going to kind of stay away from him a little bit. But yeah, I mean.
Well, let's keep going on then, and let's talk a little bit more about the betting favorite in Ludwig Aubert. So he's plus 1,200. Again, a little bit of a shaky history at the Valero. He played it first in 2022, missed the cut. He played it last year, was T14, it's been a really weird year for Ludwig as well. He's coming off of that missed cut at the Players. So this is his first tournament playing since missing the cut. He does have a top 5 and he does have a win this year, but I mean, you kind of looking at Ludwig and his finishes. I mean, I know he had that sickness that he was battling that definitely came into factor in having, you know, that I think it was like a 36 or something that he had, followed up by a withdrawal. So, I mean, Ludwig's healthy, but he's coming off a missed cut. Is this the week that Ludwig gets another one, or what? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the field is there for him to win in a certain sense, right? He's not going to be contending against a lot of the, you know, upper echelon there. I mean, he does have a long drive. He is one of the longer drivers on tour. And I mean, I'm not too sure he's very, very accurate. Taking a look at his driving accuracies, about 130th on tour in accuracy. But the big thing with this tournament is getting to the green. They're long, narrow greens at times. And he's got a really decent tee to green at 64th on tour. And he's 12th gained strokes off the tee. So, I mean, he's got a long drive. He's really good off the tee. So, I mean, he might not be the most accurate putting in the right in the middle, but he's not putting himself in such danger that he can't get out of it. Right?
Yeah, and that's the tough thing sometimes I see in terms of, you know, the statistics in fairways hit, because if you get into the first cut, it's not a fairway hit, right?
Not a fairway hit.
You're still in good grass. You're still in a good spot. So, I mean, sometimes you have players that are playing it more left to get into that first cut or into that rough to have a better shot at the green as well. So, it's kind of tough. I mean, definitely with a long course, the longer hitters are going to have a bit of an advantage here. So something to look into as well is, you know, can Ludwig bounce back from that miscut at the Players and perform here at the Valero?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, right? Like, I think at the beginning of this year, I went on record and said, who the fuck is Ludwig Abraham? I mean, I get it. It was more for show than anything. But at the same time, it was still like, who is he, right? Like, okay, so he's won this year, but in other terms, he hasn't looked that great. You know, he's got 2 top 10s this year, one of them a top 5. He's got a win, so he can look really good. But there are just some tournaments, and I know he was sick in the one, but where he just disappears, and he's not a name you're seeing when other names are there. So I don't know. Part of me wants to go back to my like take of like, until you continue to prove that consistency, who are you? But I mean, it's kind of rude to say that. I mean, he's one of the best in the world. I get that, right? Like, I get that. It's just
100%.
I mean, he's only 64th strokes gained total in the field, right? I mean, he's going to have to show a lot more to be consistent in the majors. And I mean, this is one step towards it. And hopefully he has a good weekend leading into the Masters, right?
And I think that's the disconnect and the difference. I mean, when you look at golf in statistic wise and feel wise, and that's why a lot of the times we have a lot of different opinions on who we're picking, because to me, yeah, Ludwig's had some ups and he's had some downs, but I mean, he really made a name for himself coming, you know, onto the scene, how well he performed at the Ryder Cup. He has one of the nicest swings I've ever seen in my entire life.
Smooth.
He is fast. He walks up to the ball. He sets his club. He hits it. And Ludwig's the kind of guy that nothing really bothers him. You know what I mean? Like, you watched him in the Masters last year in contention, hitting bad shots and just laughing it off like, oh man, did you see that? Do you know what I mean? Like, this is a guy who is in contention and possibly just hit one bad shot that cost him a major championship, and he's laughing it off with his caddy. Like, that's the kind of guy that is going to grow into being one of the greatest players that I think that we are going to have, you know, the honor of watching.
Our era's Lee Trevino.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah.
Just walks up, hits that ball, and walks back.
Yeah, no, that's a good comp for sure. I mean, definitely taller and more handsome.
Yeah, definitely, definitely taller.
But yeah, someone to keep their eyes out, obviously, as the odds-on favorite. So, other than the odds-on favorite, I had a few highlighted players, and I know that you did too. Do you want me to keep going, or do you want to?
No, yeah, talk to me, because I see one there that I liked as well, Spieth.
Beautiful.
And so talk about my guy.
Yeah, so let's cut down to Spieth then. So Jordan Spieth won this tournament back in 2021, and I remember that tournament very clearly because it was, again, Jordan Spieth's seasons the last, I'd say 5-6 years have been very up and down as well. And his win at the Valero was one of those things that kind of sparked that hope in me of like, oh, Jordan's back, baby, right?
He's a Texas boy.
Yeah, and I mean, since then, he's got a T35 in 2022, T10 last year. So, he's pretty consistent here at the Valero, another Texas guy, right? Yep. So he loves coming to Texas. He loves playing in Texas. I am a little bit worried about the wrist.
I was going to say, that's the only thing that keeps me away from betting him this week is the wrist, because he's been a little inconsistent this year. You know what I mean? He had one really decent week where it just seemed like he could win it. And then, he hasn't really done much since then.
And I find with Jordan this year too, much like a lot of the years in the past, the inconsistency through the weekend has been a problem. Like he'll put up 3 rounds in the 60s, but then 1 in the 70s and just absolutely throw his whole weekend away. So, plus 2,200, he's definitely up there in the odds, and it's something to look at. But yeah, it's one of those that, it sparked my interest seeing his name, but I think it might be something I'm staying away from as well.
Yeah. Honestly, I stayed away from him this week purely because of the wrist, and, you just got to kind of see more with him. It's so weird, though. Like, I was looking at major winners list, right? And the amount of people that are on that list of the current golfers that haven't won one in plenty of years is insane. Like, Rory is 14 years since he's won a major. JT would probably be the most recent major winner of active golfers that's on the PGA Tour currently. That isn't Scottie, you know what I mean? But like a multiple winner. Scottie's only got 2, right?
Yeah, 2 Masters.
2 Masters. JT's got 4. The only thing he's missing is Masters, right? He's got 2 PGAs. I'd have to look it up.
I did see a pretty interesting stat on Rory as well. He is approaching some Tiger stats. So one Tiger stat that he got last week with his T5, he's now the second golfer in history to make over $100 million in his career, second to only Tiger. So there's only 2 players that have ever earned over $100 million on the course. Rory's now one of them.
I saw another one too.
The second one was the amount of majors in between days in between his last major win. So another thing to keep your eyes on in terms of, are we going to see a moment like the 2019 Masters with Tiger Woods? Is that the year for Rory? Conversation for next week for sure.
Definitely a conversation for next week, but weirdly, I think it's a lot different in the sense that Tiger wasn't expected to win in 2019, and Rory coming into Masters is odds on second favorite to win. So I think it's a little different in that sense. But no, I think that's a great comment, right? If he doesn't win this Masters, he'll now have gone longer than Tiger did in between his last 2.
That's a stat. There you are. Yeah. There you are. So let's get back to the Valero, because there's another player I wanted to talk about in terms of expected to win and kind of my thoughts on it. So you mentioned his name a little bit earlier in the pod. Great representative for the country of Canada, our boy Corey Conners. Corey Conners is plus 1,600 to win the Valero this week. He has won twice in the last 5 years. He is another one that's kind of up and down with this tournament. He won first in 2019, followed it up with a T14, then a T35, won it again in 2023, and then a T25 last year. So in my mind, is this another year where we're going to get a top 25 out of him? Or is this the year that Corey Conners can win the Valero for the 3rd time?
Yeah, coming into this week, he's got a string of 3 top 10s in a row, right? Like he's doing really, really well. He's top 20 in strokes gained off the tee. He's 36th on tour, tee to green, and 27th in strokes gained total. He is somebody you should be looking at the top of this leaderboard as a good chance to win this tournament.
Buddy, we have been talking for weeks, since pretty much the beginning of this podcast about how 2025 is the year of Rory. it's the year of the Canadians too, man. Like,
honestly,
we are showing up to golf.
I think I said that in like the 4th week because like we had a few really good like finish. Like as far as Canadian golfers go, we had Mike Weir and that was it before this era of golfers. Really, like
Pretty much, yeah.
you know what I mean? And so it's insane to me to see Pendrith, Corey Connors, Mackenzie Hughes doing well. Like there's quite a lot of them that are at the top of leaderboards in the top 50. You know what I mean? OGR. And yeah, I think this is
OWGR.
OWGR. Yeah, I think it's the best. Well, I'm just saying official golf rankings. Sorry.
Yeah, official world golf rankings.
Oh yeah, I just shorten it because it's easier for me.
Too many letters.
Too many things to remember, dude.
But yeah, I mean, the season that we've seen so far, like 13 weeks in, really gets me excited looking towards, this summer and the Canadian Open, because typically when we're at the Canadian Open, our guys aren't playing all that well that season. But this year, like going into it, I mean, if the Canadian Open was next week, we'd have a whole lot of favorites going into it, which is a really, really exciting thought to have.
Well, and we got some returning champions too.
We do. There we go. Let's keep going, man, because you mentioned this name earlier, and it's definitely one I had on my list in the good Tommy Ladd. Tommy Fleetwood, T7 last year was his debut at the Valero. His previous 4 tournaments this year, T16 at the Valspar, T14 at the Players, T11 at the Arnie Palmy, T5 at the Genesis. Tommy Fleetwood's having a great year. I mean, he's always a very consistent player, but this year that consistency is keeping him in the top 20s every tournament that he touches. At plus 1,600, again, another really good player to keep our eyes on this week.
Yeah, he's had 5 tournaments this year. He's made the cut in all 5 tournaments this year, and he's finished his lowest was T22 this year. I mean, it's another one where I'm like, I hate that it's only 5 tournaments. But when you've performed that well in all 5 tournaments, I'm no longer stressed about it's only been 5 out of 13.
100%.
I think he's a great pick this week. I've got some more information on him a little bit later when we're doing our picks and everything. So I want to save some of my stats for that. But I love Tommy Fleetwood this week, and I think you guys are going to find out shortly just how much I do.
For sure. And I mean, the last thing I wanted to touch on Tommy, we talked a lot the last couple of weeks on Scottie and his performance and how, if the floor is consistent top 20s, how high can your ceiling go? I think that this is the year where we're going to see how high Tommy's ceiling is.
I mean, let's be real as well. Tommy Fleetwood has played over 150 tour events and has never won. He has been on the Ryder Cup team. He has done everything you can do in golf. He's not won.
On the PGA Tour, at least.
On the PGA, yeah. Sorry, correct.
It's been a heartbreak of a career, I'd say. For
one of the better golfers too to have not won.
100%, and it's funny because we always talk about just how fucking hard this game of golf is, and Tommy, I find he's on the top of the list that a lot of people talk about who really follow golf, but he's one of those names that if you're a casual golf fan, not a lot of people know how good Tommy Fleetwood is. And I think that's why. I mean, that's an impressive resume he has with 0 wins. And that is just, everyone always looks at the 0 wins and they don't see, the plethora of top 10s and top 5s that this kid has been able to pull off. So,
yeah, I mean, I think truthfully, it's a general disconnect from the general public when you say things like, a scratch golfer is nowhere close. Like someone who's a 12 handicap is closer to a scratch golfer than a scratch golfer is to a +6 handicap.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Like
for sure.
I was having this conversation with a friend the other day and I was talking about our podcast and, catching up and whatnot. And he goes, "Oh, my uncle's a scratch golfer. He could have been on tour if he tried." And I was like, "No, he couldn't have."
Nope.
Like, no, he couldn't have.
Nope.
He goes, "Oh, he can hit them like 350. And I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. I'm like, I have friends who can hit 300 every single time, and they're still shooting 85s, 86s when we go out.
Dude,
like the difference of a tour golfer compared to a scratch, compared to a +1, a +2 golfer, is completely ridiculous.
Dude, 100%. And essentially, the way this game goes, like the better you get, the harder it gets.
I mean, look at Billy Horschel. swinging left-handed with a right-handed club and hits it onto the green. And he goes, yeah, I don't even practice this. And then he did a video a few days later where he was trying. He couldn't even hit them well. And he goes, I just can't put power in it. Like, oh, that's how I hit it. And he hit a perfect nine iron, 141 yards. And he's like, that's how you do it. You just don't put power into it. He's like, he doesn't even practice that stuff. And it's just, he's in the zone. He's in the moment. He knows, like,
your body, they're athletes, man. This is insane. What they do. And like, even look at like amateur golfers, man. Like I look at my own golf game. I mean, picking up the game, obviously you're like 18 plus handicap. I was able to get my handicap down to a 12 and I was stuck there for 3 years. Finally last year I got it down to a 9, but that was a grind. Yep. And like trying to keep it under a 9 is a grind, right? So it's the exact same thing like you're saying, just going back to, I don't care if you think you're the best golfer at your course in your group of friends, you're a scratch golfer, that's great. Absolutely never going to be able to compete on the level that these guys
You're not scratching the freaking nothing as far as tours going. No. But yeah, just it's funny that kind of conversation came up and it relates to this. So yeah.
Well, I have one more player that I wanted to talk about. Just one of those names that was not, I'd say, in the top, betting favorites, but definitely a name to look out for, and that's Denny McCarthy.
That's an interesting one.
So Denny McCarthy finished second last year. Okay. This year, he has 5 top 20 finishes in 8 starts, including his last 2 starts being 18th at the Arnold Palmer and 14th at the Players. Finished second last year, T18 in 2022. I mean, I think that Denny McCarthy might be one of those players that's kind of, underneath the radar going into this weekend at plus 3,000 to win. Another really good name to keep your eyes on.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's got a top 20 or top 10, in 2025 here. It's crazy, right? Like, is a name you don't see often. He's 32. He turned pro in 2015. And it's like, that's crazy to me.
Same age as me.
Right? Like, that's crazy to me. But I mean, taking a look at his stats here, everything you're saying makes sense. 28th on tour, strokes gained total. 17th strokes gained putting, right? Like, this guy's decent. 70th tee to green, 27th strokes gained approaching the green, right? He's got some decent long drives in there too, right? He's a surprising name on the list that you brought up. I like that you brought this up here because it wasn't one I was thinking of. Denny McCarthy.
I think that's perfect and a great way to segue then into our bets for this week.
Yeah, I just want to talk about one more guy here.
All right.
Just one more guy here. Hideki.
I saw his name. You know what? I don't think, I'll be honest with you. This is something that I'm going to admit. I don't think I give Hideki the respect that he deserves. Because I saw his name and I just kept fucking swiping.
I gave him a lot of respect in this tournament. Like, honestly, I'm looking at him at Masters wise, you know what I mean?
Previous champion makes sense.
And looking at his previous, like when he won it, he was playing horribly leading up to the Masters, right? He's already won this year on tour, right? So let's talk about some of his stats here, but he's having a really sneaky good year. It might, he has the one win. It might be a little inconsistent in other times, but these stats tell a different story. 11th on tour, strokes gained total. 12th on tour, strokes gained tee to green. 31st on tour, strokes gained approaching the green. 3rd on tour, strokes gained around the green. And he's 57th strokes gained putting. So, putting he can do a little better, but in 50s there, that's not a terrible place to be putting if your irons are on point, if you're, hitting your greens at like 11th strokes gained total. He's having a really, really good under the radar year with a win already. So to say it's under the radar is kind of crazy, but we got to give him some love.
100%. And he's very exciting to watch for me when he's on. Like, I remember when he won the Masters, it was a great tournament to watch. I remember when he won the Century, it was a great tournament to watch. Yep. Like, when his striking's on, I remember that 3-wood that he hit into 18 at the Century. It was gorgeous, dude. Absolutely beautiful. Just one of those shots I can close my eyes and I can picture the exact landscape, right? So I could not give you an answer on why I don't pick him more often other than possibly the inconsistencies, right? When he's up, he's up. When he's down, he's down. But man, when he is playing golf, he is playing great fucking golf.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best in the world. And I really wanted to talk about that here. But I did see one more thing here that I think is kind of interesting. So Denny McCarty, 32 years old, right? How old do you think Hideki is?
34.
33.
Oh,
What's
close.
Crazy, right?
Close.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to, I can't remember what podcast it was, but I was listening to it the other day, and the really interesting kind of conversation they were having was in terms of golfers and their prime and how the game of golf has completely changed. Like in the old time of golf, it was not uncommon. In fact, it was the most common to see golfers play like absolute garbage until they were into their 30s and their 40s, and that was the prime of these players. Now, when we have these human beings that are bred athletes and, you know what I mean, the technology and the training, we're seeing the prime come into play so much sooner. And it used to be one of those surprising things. Hey, that young kid in his 20s is winning all of these majors. Now it's one of those things where we're like, holy fuck, he's 33. Like, you know what I mean?
That's crazy,
but like,
right?
It's one of those things where the story of Hideki may not be written yet. And that's crazy to say about a major champion and a
11-time winner.
A multi winner on the PGA Tour. Like, his story might not be, that might be just chapter one, and we might be getting into the prime of Hideki. So definitely someone to keep our eyes on for sure.
I mean, when did Phil win the PGA championship? Was that 2021?
When he was what?
50, right? So like, I mean, it's these things can happen, dude. Like these things can happen. And I mean, he's only 33. I really think, you know, he's got his best golf in front of him. But you are right. There's a lot of people coming in. They're like 23, getting second in Masters, getting second in the U.S. Open. Zalatoris, right?
50 years, 50 years, 11 months.
Yeah,
almost 51. Yeah.
So I mean, like when you think of it, he's still got some prime years of golf ahead of him. And like I was taking a look, that's a lot of players that I think we like right now. Like Shane Lowry's in his early 30s. There's
Open champion.
Right? Like there's a lot of players that we talk about that are just in their early 30s. And I think it's, you know, the prime, it's a great time for golf, great time for them to be good because you've got a lot of these youngins coming up and trying to vie for positions on the tour. And yeah, it surprises me when I see some of these guys' ages, especially because, you know, I mean, I was really I paid attention to the majors before I really cared about golf, but like really started caring about golf 2020.
Yeah.
COVID, right? So I don't know. I felt like he was younger. I felt like, you know, I feel like a lot of these guys are younger than they actually are. So it's just kind of crazy when you see it.
That's fine. Because I mean, I'm 32 myself and I feel like I'm 22. So
yeah,
I hear you, man. I hear you.
Almost 33, big dog.
It's getting there. It's getting there. So cool. Is that everything you got? We got to go into who we got for our bets this week. So
let's do it.
Let's get into our 20s, 10s, and 5s for the Valero. So I'm going to start with my top 20, of course. This guy was my name to look out for this week. He's having a great year so far in 2025. He's been an absolute top 20 machine, and he historically performs well at this course. My top 20 bet this week at plus 110 was Denny McCarthy.
All right. So we talked about him for a reason. You're high on the guy. I like it. All right. So Denny McCarthy, top 20 for the kid. So for mine, I'm going a little off the rails here. Someone we haven't talked about at all yet.
Interesting. Let's spark up a conversation.
Here. So this gentleman is top 25 or better in strokes gained approaching the green, strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained tee to green, and he's sitting at 22 on tour strokes gained total. Okay, so pretty good player.
Decent for sure.
Fifth in total driving efficiency, right? On a long course, you're going to need to be efficient. This player is overall a consistent top 20 machine. He has 5 top 20s in 7 tournaments this year so far. Okay? He has finishes of T8 and T23 in his last 2 appearances at this course. My pick for top 20, Captain Keegs.
Captain Keegs.
Keegan Bradley.
I can't believe we've gone through an entire podcast without bringing up Keegan Bradley's name. That's got to be, you know,
that's a record.
Almost the first record time in a podcast before bringing him up for sure. For sure. love that pick. Love the stats you have to back it up. Absolutely love our captain in Keegan Bradley. So
let's go.
Great
Big
pick.
ups on Keegs. Big ups on Keegs. I'm going to switch and I'll talk about my 10 first, and you can.
Absolutely.
I cheated a little bit and looked at your paper there, your screen, and I think you're going to laugh when we go through our 10s and our 5s here. It seems to always happen to us. But this gentleman in some tournaments this year, he's made the cut in all of them. You know what I mean? He's got some finishes of T11, a T14, a T16 to his name this year. He's finished T7 here before. He's got an eye-popping strokes gained total of 4th on tour. Having a sneaky good year. He's 12th in strokes gained approaching the green. He's 8th in strokes gained tee to green. And he isn't so bad with the putter either. He ranks inside the top 40 in strokes gained putting. Okay? He's never won on tour before. But I wouldn't be surprised if they call his name this Sunday. My pick for top 10 is Tommy Fleetwood.
That's a great pick for your top 10, and we're going to go a little bit out of line here in terms of, I'm going to skip over my 10 for now, and I'll go back to it because I have Tommy Fleetwood as my top 5
yes, you do.
For this week. Tommy's playing great golf. He's playing very consistent golf like he always has, and I talked about it a little bit earlier. We know how high his floor is.
Yep.
I think that this week is when we find out how high that ceiling is.
I hope so.
Chasing down his first PGA Tour win, I have good old Tommy Ladd for top 5. I'm going to go back up now into my top 10.
Let's do this.
We talked a lot about him. Well, I talked a lot about him. I have good Canadian boy Corey Connors for my top 10. And I mean, although I really feel like Corey can win this tournament, I was really toying between Tommy top 10 and Corey 5, and I flipped back and forth and back and forth and back and forth between the two of them.
Yep.
The inconsistency at the Valero is ultimately what made me put Corey Connors into the top 10, right?
Yep,
Instead, just because you never know what we're gonna get out of him. And historically, he wins and has 2 bad years and wins, and then has 2 decent years, I'd say, not bad years. So my worry is that this is going to be another decent year and he just top 10s it, and I had him in 5. So I put Corey Connors in my top 10 for plus 160.
Oh, I love that. So much so that for my top 5 pick, some people call this man the Canucka Valero. He is top 20 in strokes gained off the tee. He's 36th tee to green and 27th in strokes gained total. Entering this tournament, once again, this guy has 3 straight top 10s. While you're talking about his inconsistency here from year to year, I'm talking about the fact that he is playing goddamn consistent golf right now. The Canucka Valero, Corey motherfucking Connors, top 5. I don't know how we do this. We need to do our fucking research together so we don't do this shit anymore. But once again, we've alternated 5s and 10s. We've flipped them around. I've got Keegan Bradley top 20, Tommy Fleetwood 10, Corey Connors 5. You've got Denny McCarty 20, Corey Connors 10, Tommy Fleetwood 5.
You know what? It's really interesting because the way that we think and the research we do is completely different. And again,
it leads us to the same results. And we always have like one random 20 in there, right? And
it's funny too because last time we did this, if you remember correctly, both of our players tied for T11. So let's not follow that up this week. I would love to see, Tommy Fleetwood and Corey both in the 5 and us hit both our 5s and our 10s for this week, because that's only good for us, and that's great.
That's great for you
the
guys.
Absolute channel. So something I kind of went a little bit off script before we end today. I put in a little bit of a bonus bet, and I talked a little bit earlier about how I was toying between 2 golfers, and I went with my gut, and my gut had me put Denny McCarthy in at the top 20. But I was also toying with Daniel Berger.
Okay.
So I put in a nice little bonus bet of a top 20 parlay. I parlayed Denny McCarthy, and Daniel Berger at plus 383 for both of them to hit a top 20. So little bonus bet action. It will not count towards the totals, obviously, but one of those things that I wanted it on the record. So when Daniel Berger does hit his top 20, I can say that I said it.
Okay. So I'm a little bit ill prepared for a bonus bet, but I got one in my mind that I think is going to be a fire.
I love that.
I think it'll hit no matter what. And I don't even know if you can bet on this. Okay. Hideki, top Asian finish. Because you can do top Canadian finish. You can do top American finish. So if you can get a Hideki top Asian finish in this tournament, that would be my random bet for this week.
I love it. Beautiful.
All right.
Well, that wraps it up for today. Thank you so much for watching. Looking forward to seeing how our bets do at the Valero, and really, really, really excited for next week because we have, of course, our Masters special. So have a great week, everybody, and we will see you come Masters week.
All right, let's get it. Love you, Bryce.
Dechambros, baby.